A myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people or explaining some natural or social occurrence, and typically involving supernatural beings or events. In ancient times, earthquakes were thought to be caused by restless gods or giant creatures slumbering beneath the earth. In Greek mythology, Poseidon is the god of the sea, and is usually depicted carrying a trident. One of Poseidon's nicknames is Earthshaker. Stories are told of Poseidon striking the ground with his trident, which triggered earthquakes whenever he was angry or displeased. This taught children to behave or else incur the wrath of the sea god himself. Fairy tales are a children's story about magical and imaginary beings and lands, which teach valuable lessons. The fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood, is about a little girl walking to her grandmother's house alone, and along comes a wolf who manages to get Little Red Riding Hood to tell him where she is going. And in the end, it almost meant certain death for her and her grandmother. This fairy tale's purpose is to teach children about stranger danger, and how these people can have bad intentions. Folk tales are stories in the oral tradition, or tales that people tell each other out loud, rather than stories in written form. They include a problem and teach a lesson. In the anime Future Folk Tales, there is a story about an Arabian couple who has difficulty conceiving a child. So the wife prays to the gods to give her a child, any child, so long as she could become a mother. Her wish was granted, and she gave birth to a camel. Although shocked at first, the parents loved their daughter, whom they named Jamila. In the end, after Jamila selflessly saves a boy who was mean to her for being a camel, she awakens the next day a human girl. This folk tale teaches us about our parents' unconditional love, and that no matter how different we may look, we must all be kind to one another. Fables are short tales that teach a moral lesson, often with animals or inanimate objects as characters. The TV show and book series Franklin comes to mind when learning about fables. In this particular episode, Franklin the turtle deals with his best friend Otter moving away. He is upset the entire day and won't cheer up until he realizes they can still be best friends, only now via letters. By the end of the episode, both Franklin and Otter send letters to each other and no longer feel sad about being apart. This animated fable teaches us that although we may be far apart from each other, especially now, we can still find ways to make it work. Legends are a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. The doll Annabelle instantly came to mind when thinking about legends. According to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the true story about this doll started when a nursing student was given the doll in 1970. They say the doll behaved strangely, and that a psychic medium told the student that the doll was inhabited by a spirit of a diseased girl named Annabelle. The student and a roommate tried to accept and nurture the spirit-possessed doll, but the doll reportedly exhibited malicious and frightening behavior. It was at this point that the Warrens say they were first contacted, moving the doll to their museum after pronouncing it demonically possessed. The doll remains in a glass box at the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. In this picture you can see on the left the Annabelle that we see in the movies, and on the right is the real Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll. That's the end of my video, and now you know the difference between these 5 very similar but very different things. Thanks for watching.